violence in Chicago is once again in the national spotlight following a violent 4th of July weekend. More than 80 people were shot, 16 fatally. More than 1,000 people have been shot in the city since the beginning of the year.
Peter Nickias has the difficult job of bringing those crime numbers to life. He's an overnight breaking news reporter for the Chicago Tribune, meaning he's out on the streets every night at those crime scenes. And he writes a timeline that people can follow with a blow-by-blow description of what happens, things you don't get in those little bylines. Peter joins us now from the Tribune Tower. Good morning.
Morning.
So, Peter, it's got to be a dangerous job, and you're only 28 years old. How did you decide to do this?
I sort of happened into it, really. I was working overnight, so we didn't go to crime scenes a lot, but I went to a few and realized there's a world out there at these crime scenes that we don't really know about, and so we're getting better at being able to explain what they are and kind of expand on them a little bit. But I'm still learning. 2 years of going to crime scenes now, more than 400 of them probably, and we're still seeing new things.
Well, I was going to ask you, we probably have some expectation of what you're going to see, and on TV we see the crime tape and we see people crying and so forth. What have you seen that you didn't expect?
The first crime scene I went to that we included things from the crime scene. I went to a couple dozen before I knew exactly what to use from the crime scenes. There was a father who just wanted to pray over his son. He was really calm. He was really, really well put together. And so he asked the sergeant, he's like, I want to see my son. I want to pray over him. And the sergeant kind of tried to talk him out of it and said, he said, yeah, I'll let you do it once the investigators are done. And the investigators got done, and he's like, I want you to know, how you remember your son right now. If you look at him, this is not how you're going to remember him anymore. And the father was like, I still want to pray over my son. So I cut the tape, and they lifted the sheet, and he walked over, and he stood and he prayed. He was quiet for about a minute, and he walked away. And then they scooped him up, and they brought him to the morgue. That was the first time, I think, where I saw something that kind of took me by surprise. And there's variations on that theme. The way people deal with grief, it seems, it's usually not the same.
Part of your timeline, you get a little bit into yourself and your reaction to these things. You say in one of them, my soul is nearly destroyed from seeing all these. And it's stuff like you've seen parents teaching their kids how to properly duck when they hear that firecracker noise.
Yeah, that was a woman's reaction, that her soul was destroyed. She had lost her 2 kids, but it's definitely, you see that a lot. Kids becoming accustomed to gunfire when it shouldn't be that way. And then we were actually at a scene not too long ago where a 14-year-old boy had died, and 2 sisters woke up their kids. They lived together and brought them out to see the body. And they couldn't get close on it, but they knew it was a body down, toward the end of the street. And they tried to warn him, like, if you want to be out in the streets, this is what's going to happen to you. It's really jarring. To think that kids are growing up like that, and you have to ask what it's doing to children when there's a constant exposure to trauma.
Peter, on the other side of that, do you run into people in the community who are numb, or maybe a better question is indignant or feel put out by the fact that they're dealing with this on their street?
Yeah, we run into people with all kinds of opinions about it. I would say the most common one is a sense of resignation, and that doesn't mean they're happy about it. They're still obviously displeased by what's going on, but it's almost accepted as a part of city life, not just in neighborhoods where it's common, but city life everywhere.
What's your thought about what needs to be done? Have you come to a conclusion yourself, or do you not allow yourself to think that way? Do the people seem to tell you they want more police out, or they complain about guns being too many guns? What do you hear?
It's a little bit of everything. The older folks want more police, and they want them to bang heads. They want, somebody needs to, crack these kids around a little bit. The younger people want jobs. I used to think I had good ideas about what could be done to solve it, because I was younger, obviously. But the longer I do this, the less I feel like I know about what can be done. I think there's a short-term security problem, and it's the police department has to figure out how to have a good weekend. And there hasn't been a weekend with less than 24 people shot since probably early April. But then there's the long-term issues, education, kids growing up with trauma, just getting from point A to point B without your adrenaline jumping because you're worried about getting jumped on or shot at or whatever because you're from one side of the street or another. Like, those are long-term things that the city has to address, and I don't know that I've seen a comprehensive plan to address those.
Peter Nickius with the Chicago Tribune, and if people want to read your timeline, does it appear on the website every day, Peter?
As often as we can do them, yeah. We have a collection of about 45 or 50 of them from crime scenes over the past year and a half, and we try to do them as often as possible.
All right. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks for joining us.